Hi. Welcome. I'm Jen Burson. I'm the founder and president of Generation PR. We are a full-service PR and social media marketing, influencer marketing agency here in Los Angeles, and I'm the creator of Generation Academy and the Powerhouse Pros community. Today's topic, this is one of those things where we know that you got to tread lightly with journalists when you're asking for them to make changes, and things happen, but we're going to address the right way to go about it. So, it happens all the time. There are, client wins go live. It's so exciting. We're all like, yay, hooray. You've been working so hard to get something out and up, and it goes live and you're like, yes. And then you read it and you're like, fuck, right? That's how we feel. Maybe there's a massive error in it, but don't panic, because this is pretty common, especially these days with how quick editors have to work because they're putting out these digital features. And, lots of PR pros, they think that getting a feature corrected may be impossible. It might be taboo. There are certain situations we're going to talk about when it's like cool to ask for a fix and when it's not cool. Okay. So, we want to be able to have editors publishing pieces that are accurate, complete, the information is current, up to date, valuable. And if it's not completely accurate, it is intimidating to ask for a change. But it's all in the way that you ask, so that they don't feel like you are acting entitled, or that it's something that you're expecting and that it's not them helping you, like you're demanding something and they have to just do what you're asking. It's all in the way you ask. So when it comes to the media, it's in being realistic and reasonable in the changes that you're asking for. So we're going to approach it in a way where you have your best chance for a fix. And, maybe it's a spelling mistake or something really big that's just wrong. We're going to approach it in a way where we're getting these changes made. Okay, there are certain kinds of errors. It's got to be a factual inaccuracy. Okay, you're not getting them to correct a link unless it's a broken link, and you're letting them know the link is broken. You're not going to get them to change a link to your client's website instead of Amazon or another platform. You're not going to get them to change the tone of the article. You just have to hope that the article itself, the content is good. If it's not, then, you can't change it. We have clients that will ask us can you have them change this word? It's not right. Or, we don't like that word. We use this word instead. The answer is no. This is the journalist choosing that word. They have a lot of reasons. It could be for SEO purposes for their website. They don't care what you refer to. If there's a word that's pretty similar, they're going to choose their word, and it could be based on SEO. It could be an editorial journalistic decision. The only time you can ask for a fix is if it is an inaccurate piece of information. And in order to do that, first, lead with kindness, right? Editors, they're human. They're just like me, just like you. And sometimes typos are missed during proofreading. Maybe a piece is published with an incorrect product price or a launch date. And when this happens, don't obviously be mad or anything like demanding. It's about how you ask and you acknowledge this is a change. I'm asking with empathy and understanding that it's not typical. Show empathy for your media contact. They're a writer. They do want their work to be factual. They want to be accurate. Maybe it was just a simple oversight. Keep calm, professional, always be respectful, have that respectful tone when you reach out to your media contact, and just request a factual correction to some error. and then show them that you trust them regardless of the fact that there might have been a mistake. You know that they're credible, reliable journalist in your niche. This is a contact you're going to need after this fix. So they should never be made to feel bad or embarrassed about a small factual error. Their goal is to write pieces that are complete, factually accurate, and based on their editorial opinion, their slant, their approach. It doesn't matter that your client doesn't like the tone or a certain word they use, or that they're mad that they got the link wrong. It's really, the approach is fix it because it's inaccurate and the readers are not going to be able to find what you're referencing, or the word is not accurately like portraying what the research shows, things like that. But it's like truth in advertising. So those careful distinctions matter, right? And so it could be as simple as like, my client, Omnilux, it's a big deal that we get to say there's independent clinical research that back up our claims and we're FDA cleared. No other device on the market can do that. And so that's really important that I get the media to communicate that. So if there's something that they report that doesn't show that that's there, as a, like a check, a talking point, something that's really important for this brand, or it's misleading for other companies to say that. They usually talk about clinical studies of LED light therapy, but these are studies around our clients' specific products. That's different. That has more impact. So if something gets it wrong, I'm going to probably call that out because that's a fact that's very important for our client, but it's around how you do it. So the first way we're going to do it, lead with kindness and empathy. Second, be specific and keep things really simple. So if you're requesting a correction for a factual error, it is best to just outright say what's incorrect in the article and just clearly point it out, include the full quote with the error, and state exactly what would need to be updated. If that's a broken link in the article, include the exact link that needs to be replaced. And again, this is not change out Amazon for my client's website. That is a big no-no. And if your client is asking for those kinds of edits, you must push back and say no. These are your media relationships. You need to know that's not okay as a PR professional and push back, because the client only cares about their article and traffic from a top tier website directing consumers to their own website or to check out and buy on their website. But that's not what the journalist chose. That's not where they chose to link. And so by you going to a journalist and saying, hey, my client would really prefer if you link to their website, they're going to be like, don't care. They won't even get back to you and they'll probably not work with you again. So be that expert, step into your expertise and tell the client, of course, we provided them with the client's website. They chose where to link. If the link is broken and it's a dead link, it doesn't go anywhere, that's different. You're still not going to change which retailer they're linking to or what website they're linking to, but you can ensure that the link that they're posting is actually working and goes somewhere. So don't beat around the bush and, try to be kind of like polite in the name of politeness or offer vague descriptions of the features that are incorrect. They're writing and publishing more than 5 articles every single week, sometimes, 2 a day. An error, it's going to sneak in. And so you want to just get straight to the point. They can correct the error. They can deliver that correct information to their audience and just move on. And then, of course, you want to show gratitude. Show gratitude for that feature, even if it is has a mistake or doesn't link where you wanted it to. It's still a great feature for your client. So you want to preserve those relationships. You want to show those contacts. You really appreciate what they're doing for you and your clients. So express gratitude to that journalist for writing the piece, for keeping your client in the piece. Let them know that you and your client appreciate the opportunity. You're excited about it. You love the way that they feature the client. Send a separate thank you note if you want to kind of really nurture that relationship. It could be a piece of mail. It could be just an email. It could be a DM on social. If you do get that correction, a thank you goes a long way. Absolutely. right? You definitely want to make sure that if they're going to go back and revisit an article that they have like put to bed and published, you're saying, that was awesome that you fixed that. I really, really appreciate it. So it's a great idea to acknowledge what the journalist got right in the article too, especially if there's some kind of factual, tricky information included, certain things that have a lot of technical information, or if it's kind of like fast moving information that changes a lot. You want to compliment them on how well they explained it. Maybe there's some tricky technology behind your client's latest product. If they were able to really express it in a simple way that the media or that the readership is going to say, like, I get it, thank them for that, because that is a journalist's goal. And when they nail it, it feels good for them to hear from you on behalf of your client that they got it right. And if the piece was an interview between the journalist and your company's founder, you want to really hype up how well that conversation read on the page. Just really expressing that gratitude and appreciation. So that was a correction that's based on a factual mistake. If you want to request a correction that's based on context, here's a couple ways to kind of think through this. So not every feature is going to be positive, and sometimes product reviews won't go your client's way. So when you request any kind of correction with a typical media publication, you cannot ask for a retraction. Huge no-no, unless it is based on just completely inaccurate, improper information, and that formed the opinion, which honestly, I've never seen that happen. You can ask for something that's missing that should be included, that might change the piece just a little bit, but maybe they intentionally omitted it. You don't know. But you can never, ever request a retraction, ever. And if your clients ask you to do that, you have to push back. Asking an editor to change their opinion and the editorial nature of a story is never okay. It is inappropriate. It's unprofessional. They will never do it. You're going to lose your relationship. They're not always going to write positive features for you. At times clients are going to request that unfavorable articles be changed, absolutely push back, because it's going to damage your relationship. So context-based corrections can only be about misinformation, not the tone or the angle of the story. Only misinformation. Did the editor not have access to key product information? Maybe that's like a full ingredient list or an additional technical feature behind a paywall or something like that. When they considered and wrote the whole piece, did they leave something important out like that? Or did the editor not receive an updated sample between writing their piece and a product launch? Maybe they're talking about old features, or they're talking about a product that's been on the market and they're reviewing an old product versus version 2.0, which was updated to include these corrections that consumers had maybe complained about or things like that. So anything that does not include the whole picture, or they're basing it on misinformation, that's okay to ask, but it's not a guarantee. You can inform them of something that's missing. Never, ever, ever ask for a retraction. They'll never do it, and you're going to burn that bridge. And then you also want to let the journalists see for themselves. So if they're missing this proper context, it's up to you to present them with the info that they need. So send out updated samples. You want to make sure that they link to the client's latest program or app, that they're looking at the most up-to-date information. Supply them with that full ingredient list, whatever the final packaging is. Maybe they have all products in a set, something that was kind of missing as the, 1, 2, 3. If they are only reviewing one piece of a whole set and they don't have the fact that it's a system that all works together, whatever they're missing before, you want to get that to them as soon as possible. Maybe they'll consider it. Maybe they'll update based on the new information. If the context requires a bit more explanation, maybe ask to briefly chat with them so that you can explain your requests. They're not always going to say yes, but you want to give them, a lot of things get lost in the back and forth. It's kind of annoying. If you're able to get like 5 minutes of their time, everything that you do when requesting factual updates is also going to hold true here. You want to be polite, you want to be kind, state the context updates clearly, show your gratitude and appreciation for not only the feature, but giving you the opportunity to hear you out in this updated chat. They might be reviewing something that is just not the current up-to-date information. It could be instructions that they're missing. Like your client has updated the instructions, or maybe they didn't read a key piece of the instructions, or it wasn't included in their sample or something like that. So always put your media relationships first. Any kind of edit or factual update, or even a context-based update is kind of a tricky situation to navigate, but it's easier when you have a strong relationship with the journalist. So that's always first and foremost, is like building these relationships, letting them know that you're somebody that takes these things seriously, you're trustworthy, you're always going to supply them with the most up-to-date info. Maybe they got something that was a bit dated, or they didn't see something. You're a partner to them, and your relationship building is really going to come in handy here, because, even if they review the information, they may still deny the correction. They may say, like, I appreciate that you shared that with me, but we're going to keep the story as is. If that happens, accept the outcome and move on, and let your client know you tried and that they opted to keep it as is. And that's really frustrating. You may want to consider posting a statement in response to the piece on your client's owned platforms. So their blog, it could be their social media. And no matter what happens with a feature with the media, prioritize maintaining that relationship. You want to make sure that you're looking beyond just this one feature for this one client. If your client continues to push for a retraction or a correction, even after the journalist has denied the request, first of all, we're never going to request a retraction, like I said, but you are maybe going to ask for some sort of a correction and the journalist says no can do. You want to have a discussion with your client around resetting their expectations around what media coverage or what you are able to do as a publicist. There will not be any features to speak of if your relationships take a hit from all of their requests for retractions, which you're doing because the client says just do it, and you go, okay. You're not going to have any more connections with that journalist where they're going to write about any of your clients. So I always look at the long-term connections and relationships I have benefiting my agency in our niches and our clients in those niches as a whole. And I'll never burn a bridge for one client over one feature. And this is where expectation setting and getting them understanding how PR works, what they can expect and what they can't expect, getting those expectations aligned with reality is so important. And that's why we also do it in the beginning, even on the discovery call with a client, because they need to know what's going to happen and when, and what's not going to happen, so that they're not disappointed. That just sets them up for disappointment, right? So you got to push back when they're like, please make them print a retraction. This is not okay. It's like, I cannot do that. So if you want to go through the steps to just prevent needing corrections in the first place, here is what you need to be doing and having this system in place so that you're not seeking corrections down the road. So first, you have to do your own fact checking. Make sure before you pitch that you are sending complete, factually accurate information the very first time. That is the best way to prevent corrections, is getting it right the first time. So before you pitch, do your research, not while you're writing your email. So this means that before you even start drafting your pitch, you're getting the latest info from your client regarding their products, product formulations, the launch date, the sales, promotions, research and studies that back up their claims. All of these things have to be known before you start your pitch, because every tidbit of information that you provide to the media has to be completely accurate. You can't go back and say, oh, they have since blah, 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 right? Because your contact's going to say, then why did you pitch me before that piece was complete and I knew exactly where they stood with their launch or with their ingredients or the price point, right? Like, you need to make sure that the price and everything is like final. You also have to put a system in place to ensure that even the tiniest errors are fixed before you hit the send button on your pitch. And for us, that is getting a second set of eyes on a pitch. I will sometimes wait a day to look at it again with fresh eyes. I always catch things. Sometimes in email, I'll look and be like, oh my God, how did I send that out with all of these little mistakes? I always look at it before I hit send just to make sure. If you don't have a second set of eyes, you have your fresh eyes during the next day. You can also use AI programs like Grammarly to catch any kind of spelling errors. If you're in a pinch, you want to make sure you know the difference between there, and there, and your, all of the things that make journalists cringe. You want to make sure you actually know. If grammar isn't your strong suit, you need to have somebody on your team that reads through pitches and will spot the spelling or grammatical mistakes, any details from the client that might have gotten mixed up or that are missing, or maybe they have ways they can suggest to improve the pitch overall, or really better and more clearly communicate the nuances of your client and their products or the story itself. Sometimes when you know something so well, it is hard to read something and know if it is simplified enough, if it is clear enough, because you are coming in with all of this advanced knowledge. And it obviously makes sense to you because you wrote it and you know what you're talking about. But get a new, fresh set of eyes on it and have someone read it and say, I don't get it. Or, somebody who really doesn't even know a lot about the product or the client or the industry, make sure when they read it, they get what you're talking about. And it's clear, because we take all of our knowledge, all of our know-how and industry insights and bring that with us when we read a pitch or write a pitch. And it might not be clear to somebody who doesn't have that level of depth of knowledge that you have. So we're also fact checking, of course. That's the necessary step before you hit send. And you can do this yourself after you write the whole pitch, or you can have another team member look at it and they can check for the errors that might be included that you missed, or maybe it's right the first time and then you reiterate it and it's got something a little bit off about it. Make sure that it is cohesive the whole way through. And then the other thing here is we have to be on top of our clients' websites and be reviewing it with a critical eye so that we know it's up to date. That we know that a journalist or an editor is going to pull information from the client's website. So make sure that they have everything they're running on the site up to date. Make sure that all of the links are active and they lead to the correct pages. Make sure those links are not going to change anytime soon, because a journalist will grab a link and they'll run it. And if your client updates it and they change something in the link, even one little dash or one little letter, it's going to be a broken link. So you're going to review their website with that critical eye. And I always do that when we first start working with a client. We'll click everything, make sure that their site functions properly, make sure that their company bio is easy to find, that their navigation is good. We've had, for example, a beauty brand we're launching. We will ask them, for example, to include the ounces of the product so that we can pitch it for travel related stories. So if they're not including that on the website, we're going to note it. But yes, you need to make sure your client's website is accurate and up to date. Reach out to your client or reach out to somebody on the web development team to correct the links or inaccurate information, and anything that they change on their website, or adding a product or something, anything that they do, you want to be plugged into any of these changes, like even their team changing, any staff changes, any launch dates that are changing, so that you're always delivering the latest and greatest information to editors. Like we had the company that we asked to change the ounces and all of that stuff for, they have a new product launch and we're ready to go, and the launch date came and went, but the product hasn't arrived here in the US. It's coming out of South Korea because it's a K-beauty brand, and it arrived in Australia, which is where the client is actually based, but it has not arrived here in the US. So they launched in Australia and we're ready to go. Everything's done, product's developed, it's getting shipped, but it's not here yet. So had we not double checked that the product landed, we would have run this pitch and the product's not even available yet here in the States. So double, triple check. You always want to stay on top of those things and don't assume everything's final until it's really final and done. So thank you guys so much for being here. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys very soon. And take good care.